They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I've taken over 40 to 50,000 pictures, so I guess that makes me a blabbermouth. Cheesy, I know. I'm here today to explain some of the basic elements of photography with you. You know, with the proliferation of cell phones and tablets, there are literally billions of potential photographers out there, many of whom, with just a little bit of tweaking and knowledge, can go to very good or even excellent photographers with whatever way they take their pictures. And I'm here to share a little basic knowledge with you today on those topics. In fact, I plan to discuss types of cameras you can use, basic composition, and, more importantly, how to share your pictures with the world. Now, there are many ways people take pictures, or snapshots as we call them sometimes. You got your film cameras, you got your compact cameras, you got your super zoom cameras, you got your DSLRs, you got your medium format, you got cell phones, you got tablets. That's a lot of things to choose from. In fact, Amy Davies wrote an article in 2016 called Choosing a Camera Type, and she wrote, "Deciding on a camera can be a daunting task, not least because of the wealth of options available." And there are many options available that I have not even mentioned, like mirrorless, where they fit in the spectrum, and stuff like that. They all have their benefits and drawbacks. A lot of times these benefits or drawbacks are due to the size of the camera. Sometimes it's due to the price of the camera. Sometimes it's somewhere in between. So now that we discussed types of cameras, let's move on to composition. Many people use their cameras and never take it out of the auto setting. But one thing that your camera can't do is auto-compose a picture. That's where you need your eyes. What is composition, you ask? Well, Romanos Naraskin, in his 2014 article, What is Composition in Photography, states, first and foremost, composition describes placement of relative objects and elements in a piece of art. Now, as we know, art is very subjective. Therefore, composition is going to be subjective as well. But that's why I always say, take pictures that you like, and the world will probably like them too. One rule of composition is called the rule of thirds. That's when you divide your screen, which is your scene, into a tic-tac-toe pattern, so you have non-equal sized boxes. The goal is to line up the subject of your picture in one of those intersecting areas of the box. I prefer to call it the suggestion of thirds because sometimes your picture isn't able to be captured in such a defined way. Another rule is following the lines, in that when you take a picture and there are lines on it of any kind, whether it's a road or a building or anything like that, anything with its defined lines, the human eye's natural inclination is to follow the lines. So you want to make sure that there's a payoff at the end of those lines as they follow them. Again, these are just suggestions, no hard and fast rules, because you can't have something be subjective like art and then have a plethora of mandatory obligations. So now that we discussed composition a little bit, let's move on to sharing your pictures with the world. There are many places people can share their photography. For some people, Facebook and Instagram are all they need. For me, I prefer sites like Viewbug, which is a site for photographers where they share their photography with each other. You can even enter contests and win prizes such as cameras, camera bags, tripods, etc. Or sites like Etsy, where if you're willing to try to sell your pictures, you can possibly do that. And I actually have sold a couple of pictures on Etsy, which is a pat on the back for me. It really doesn't matter where you post your pictures, but just try to share them. That's the important part as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've discussed types of cameras, I've discussed composition, and I've discussed sharing. So in my conclusion, I will state, I believe we're all potential photographers. Human beings are visual creatures. We love a good story. When you put those together, you have the elements of photography, which is telling a story through pictures. And to be honest, I find photography to be a mental vacation for me because I don't think about anything else except what I'm shooting. And it's kind of a relaxation therapy because, again, I don't think about anything except what I'm shooting. And I'm not the only person who thinks that. Apparently, Danielle Hark, in her 2013 article, How Taking Photos Can Improve Your Mental Health, wrote, "It has been proven time and time again that creativity and art therapy are valuable tools for emotional wellness." Now, I use all of the types of cameras that I mentioned, but I always come back to the DSLR. It's just perfect fit for me, whether it's my hand size, how heavy it is, the type of lenses I can use. I love that option of changing out lenses to suit whatever I'm trying to shoot. In closing, I just ask that you do some photography. Get out in the world, share your view of the world with the world, and the world will thank you for it. And I thank you for listening.